In this video, we're going to take a look at a blue ink by KWZ, Walks over Vistula. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the blue ink playlist, so if you want to check out more, you can find that there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. Now, we have no feather spread, halo sheen. We do see quite a bit of tone variation that's going on here, not much for shading, but the extra fine's a lot lighter than the stub, and the medium's darker than the extra fine, but not as dark as the stub. Extra fine took 16 seconds to dry, while the medium took 21. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. This is a dense ink, and we don't get any color variation. The smear test, I do not think you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Sailor 1911 with a zoom nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. There's no bleeding, there is some ghosting. It's a very thin paper. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, some tone variation, just like on the Clairfontaine, but not as vivid a difference. Extra fine is lighter than the stub. The medium is right about the same tone as the stub. We have, nothing else for characteristics. Extra fine took 23 seconds to dry, while the medium took 32. This is smudging from me while I was working on it, and the smear test says the scrubby says no color variation, we get none, and the smear test, you can't recover if you smeared it like this while you were writing. If you smeared it small like that, then sure you could. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And on the first, we see this very flat, constant, very uniform gray tone all the way up. And then that very nice blue at the top. Now the one on the right that's let dry for 10 minutes before it's put into water, that gray has really started to form a line at the bottom, giving the idea that it may be a holdout color, a little bit resistance, but the blue will definitely move away once it's re-wet. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. Now we have no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, but we do get some tone variation in that the extra fine is a bit lighter than the stub. The medium is the same tone as the stub. Extra fine took 18 seconds to dry, while the medium took 24. Our scrubby for both had no color variation. We didn't get any color variation. And now there is a very slim maybe that you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I would not use it in a note-taking situation if I wanted to go back and highlight. That blue that we expected to move very much does move, and really you may lose something important. Now, water's reactivating and lifting all of the blue and almost all of the gray. Very surprising there, especially when we look at what happens with pen flush, where the blues moved but the gray is very much still in place. 1/3 bleach solution is absolutely obliterating it. Now, it only took water to get this out of my pen. The next writing sample is done on life paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. We do get some tone variation in that the extra fine, as it has been, is lighter than the stub, and the medium, as it has been, is the same tone as the stub. The extra fine took 15 seconds to dry, while the medium took 20. Our scrubbies give us no color variation. We're not getting any shading in the writing. And the smear test, I still think there's a strong chance you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity is 2.5, and the realm of normal is 2.1 to 2.9. KWZ's Walks over Vistula has a viscosity of 2.18, making it normal. If you're interested in how the viscosity tests and all that's done, then down in the description is a link to that video. Now, let's take a look at the next writing sample done on Apica CD notebooks. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, a lot of tone variation where the extra fine's lighter than the stub and the medium is darker than the stub. The extra fine took 9 seconds to dry while medium took 15 seconds to dry. Our scrubby for both are showing us no color variation, which we're not getting it in the writing, and the smear test, still a strong chance you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, and the realm of normal was 13 to 21 seconds. KWZ's Walks Over Vistula has an average dry time of 22 seconds, meaning it takes just a little bit longer than normal to dry. The last writing sample is done on Franklin-Christoph paper. We do have quite a few spots where it has bled quite heavy into the paper. Now, this is one of those things that with Franklin-Christoph paper, it's a little more absorbent, but we don't experience this very often. None of this touched the page underneath, so that's not a problem, but for many people, this amount of spotting through might mean they can't use the back of the page. Now, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, but the extra fine is, as it has been, quite a bit lighter than the stub, and the medium is, as it has been, the same tone as the stub. The extra fine took 9 seconds to dry, while the medium took 12. And the scrubby for both, still no color variation, and there still isn't in the writing. It's a good, solid performing color. The smear test, I do not think you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like KWZ's Walks Over Vistula, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I decided to go with a brown ink by Papier Plume, their Maroon. Now, if you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of KWZ's Walks Over Vistula? There's not much for shading, but good with tone variation by pen. I like both tones that I get as that majority, but the lighter is nicer to me. A lot of the writing is much darker than the swatch. Check out the effect of this zoom nib. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? As I said, I kind of prefer its little bit lighter tone, which you can get from a medium to dry, medium or fine pen. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at Diatramentis Document Black.